You will find it in how they treat Israel and how they treat Christians. Goats will persecute, sheep will not. That's the primary difference between the two. So we're looking at the disposition of nations that will be for Christ or antichrist. Now, what shapes nations? This is fascinating, because if there's a deception is what the enemy's after. If the Great Commission is what we're after, then we are in a battle between truth and error for the American mind. That's what we're really doing. We're in a battle to see whether... This is the frustration when you hear the news, like you were just saying tonight, that there is almost like a casual, so what? When you find out that the violence and the disruption and the disorder and chaos and lawlessness unleashed throughout an entire summer of campaigning by Donald Trump was not his people or his message. It was organized, paid for, mob opposition run like the mafia. And it's in the American political system, and it's in one party attacking another. And there was not a whimper out of Washington regarding pointing a finger. I was stunned at the indifference of politicians, even Republican politicians, as to what was going on, because they weren't particularly pleased with Donald Trump winning the nomination, so they didn't speak up about it. But what you have are the 7 mind molders, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 mind molders that shape culture. The first one is the church. The church establishes a beachhead. The church is the religion mountain. Has to be, I call it religion, because if you're in Iran, it's going to be Islam, or Pakistan will be Islam. If you're in the Asian, China, it's going to be Buddhism. But the church, when the church establishes a beachhead, that is the first level of bringing a nation into the blessing of God by shaping and discipling the nation as a culture. What comes next after these are the mind molders of culture, the 7 mountains is what I call it. The second category of influence is the family. For centuries, Jews have been able to retain their distinctiveness in any country. The United States, for instance, they've only been 2.5% of our population. And yet, Jewish people have shaped culture from science to, from Einstein to Bernstein to Seinfeld, from comedy to science to architecture to law. Jews have shaped American culture. They've done it with only 2.5% of the population because they've been able to retain family and religious ties. So you can literally be a subculture within a larger culture and never deteriorate and protect yourself from what's out there if you can maintain your traditions, if you can maintain your values. And so it's the bar mitzvah or the bas mitzvah, and it's the family ties that has enabled Judaism to survive and not become a religion assimilated by other countries. They can coexist in any nation because they are able to hold on to church and family. After church and family, you have education. What's happened in the United States is we have yielded territory. You guys know this, but this picture puts it together. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Christian universities and schools for the training of men and women of God. You can't even be a Christian on the campus hardly in those places anymore. I know I was protested, and I just showed up to do one speech at Harvard. Because if you surrender these territories, here's what Jesus said. If the house is swept clean but not filled, it becomes 7 times worse. And what's happening in America is there are 7 institutional houses. Christianity once swept clean, but we didn't occupy it, and now we're watching in the place of Christianity a hostile takeover against Christians. Education, from kindergarten all the way to college.